at least 4 countries have issued advisories against travelling to Sri Lanka. UK, Singapore, Bahrain and Kuwait have advised their citizens to not go to Sri Lanka for any non-essential travel. The advisories also say that those already in Sri Lanka should remain in their residence or in their hotels and not go out at this time.
And avoid places where mass protests are underway. So countries, they're issuing advisories for their citizens. Well, to talk more about the situation in Sri Lanka, we're joined by Kalani Kumarasinghe, senior editor, Daily Mirror, Sri Lanka. Thank you so much for joining us. And so what are we to understand about what's happening right now? A state of limbo, the all-party meeting asking Ranil Wickremesinghe to step down, but no formal resignation yet from the president.
Yes, we were expecting the president to issue his letter of resignation as soon as he reached the destination country that he was supposed to be flying to. But it is still unclear a whole day later whether he has flown into this destination country, if he has changed his plans, or if he at all plans to still continue and send his resignation letter. This, of course, creates a lot of confusion and a lot of instability. And while everything that's been going on, there's also been a party leaders meeting, and the clear call from that meeting has been for the Prime Minister and now the acting President, Ranil Wickremesinghe, to resign. So a lot actually rides on his decision. We have to wait and see because the violent protests we saw last night is an indication of what's to come unless this actually takes place.
Right. Ms. Kumarasinghe, you said that yesterday's protests were a beginning and it's a sign of what's to come. But now that the protesters' demands are not being adhered to, do you think it's only going to grow? And yesterday they went into the Prime Minister's office. What could be their plan next?
Well, the protesters' demands had not been met for months. This is not something that we have just seen yesterday or over the weekend. Right. What's different here is that people have actually come to the limits of their patience because we have a leadership that will not bow down to the wishes of the people. And that is actually causing a lot of problems. And there are rumors of rifts within the struggles as well. It was very evident. There have been criticisms against some opposition parties of driving some violent forces towards the parliament last night, where a very severe standoff took place between the military and the public. And that, of course, is something that none of us want to see, because conflicts between armed forces and the public, that's not a desirable situation that we wish to see. So
right.
Everyone's...
Also, Ranil Wickremesinghe asking the army to do whatever it takes to control the situation. Is that something that is very worrying? Because in Sri Lanka, we haven't seen such a big role ever of the army as such. So what are your concerns there?
Our concerns is that Ranil Wickremesinghe still won't step down, and he will want to sort of stick to the power, the executive power that the presidency brings. Of course, the opposition parties have disagreed to this, and they are holding the fort. They won't let the military retaliate against these protests. However, we did see the protests turning very violent last night, and there were reports of clashes between the military and the public. Several protesters were injured. Military officers and police officers were injured, and yeah, it's a very grave situation that we don't.
Are you expecting that there will be, clarity perhaps tomorrow, because that's when the parliament was to convene, and by the 20th they were meant to select a president? Does that timeline still stand, or is it right now all up in the air?
We are hoping it does stand, but it's unclear at the moment because there has been no communication from the speaker or any of the leaders that this plan is still in place. But of course, if it is in place, we are likely to hear nominations being called from the parties as to who is likely to be elected as president.
All right. And currently, what is the situation? The protesters, still very, very angry, but it's peaceful right now, and you hope that remains?
Generally, after a night of violent protests, it is peaceful for a while. So that is what we will expect to see, because ironically, it's a working day today. So I don't think there will be masses gathering like yesterday. But unless something happens very soon, we are very likely to see that this is going to only build up once again.